Okay, this video number 19 for Final Authority is called The Greek Gods, as in little g, but we'll say there, the Greek gods. Now, what's interesting about this, as the Greek friars that I mentioned in the previous one follow the methods of popish persons, but yet they won't believe the Apocrypha or some of the Catholic doctrines, but they do enjoy being more enlightened than another. But the Greek gods, what's kind of funny is that if you go to a Christian college or seminary, which often ends up being a cemetery, they'll use a $50 word for the method of interpretation called hermeneutics. Hermeneutics. It's probably the long version of Herman Munster. But hermeneutics is the method of interpretation of the Bible. But actually it's named after the pagan Greek god Hermes, Hermes, who Greek mythology says it was a messenger of the gods, and he was known as a trickster. That's kind of funny. But still, that's some valid information. Now, in this one, I'm going to just briefly read from a little storybook here called The Book of Books, written by William R. Kimball. At the time, he was president of Disciples Indeed Training Center in South Lake Tahoe, California. Now, there are a lot of good things out of this book. Don't get me wrong. There are many, many good ideas coming out of this book, but this book also does contain many half-truths and lies. And, of course, that's what makes a good deceiver is, you just can't come right out and say everything's bad. You got to be subtle in this. Now, to tell you a little story about William, we'll call him Bill. Once upon a time, Bill believed in the Lord Jesus Christ to be his Savior. He heard that from the Scriptures, 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 4, how that Christ died for his sins and was buried and rose again according to the Scriptures. Okay? And the word Scriptures is used twice in that gospel presentation of 1 Corinthians 15. Now, Bill believed the Scriptures. He believed the Bible at that time to be the very words of God. But like the priest of Malachi chapter 2, he lost his faith in what God said. Now, after high school, he attended a Christian college, and he heard many ideas from the Bible class. Oh, I'm sure he was excited about the things he was learning in Bible class. But then he would hear the professor say, a better rendering is, or a better translation is, or this is an unfortunate error in the King James Version of the Bible, and a better translation of that is, and this caused him to begin to doubt what God said, just like back in Genesis chapter 3, where a snake in the grass caused Eve to doubt what God said. Now, this doubt by Bill caused him to desire a deeper knowledge of God through wisdom of the originals. And so you see the temptation that was given Eve is that she would be enlightened, that she will be like the gods, and that she will be wise. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being wise. And so Bill decided, I'm gonna study the originals. Now, on occasion, the professor would admit that there's no such thing as the originals. They were not available. But that often would just buzz over the kid's head. But yet, no worries, the professor would tell them, because his vast wisdom and godly opinion will suffice for the truth of God. Bill began to enjoy this newfound enlightenment, and then he enjoyed the recognition of his education and scholarship. It was worth it to go to school. It made him feel smart. And he knew ideas and thoughts that other people did not know, people who did not get this wonderful education. This advanced and hidden enlightenment from the snake in the grass deceived him just like it did Eve. Bill lost his faith in the words of God somewhere along the line. Now, here is where he's put it in print. On page 185 in this book, and I looked online to see if you could find this book, but I couldn't find it. The only thing I could find was Bill thinks that Matthew 24 and the Great Tribulation occurred in 70 AD, and it's all in the past. So when you lose your faith in the words of God, man, you believe anything. And be right about it because your opinion matters. But on page 185, he admits that there are over 5,400 Greek manuscripts. So when Bill would say the Greek, he knows he would be lying. Now, here on this page, he said, the art and science of textual criticism has helped determine the New Testament's reliability beyond any reasonable shadow of doubt. Well, what is that? Well, we won't say anything about that. On page 187 in our storybook, Bill brags about the Codex Vaticanus. Now, he only gives 4 lines on it. He doesn't say anything more except that this extremely valuable Greek manuscript. And then he admits that it's housed under lock and key in the Vatican Library, so nobody could actually go look at it. And then he brags about another one called the Sinaiticus. These are the favorite 2 of all the new Bibles. In fact, all the new Bibles go back to these 2 manuscripts where they choose 2 corrupt manuscripts over 5,000 manuscripts that provide the basis for the King James Bible. Now, this Codex Sinaiticus was found in a garbage can in a monastery in the Sinai Peninsula. So a garbage dump guy, a garbage picker, found this valuable, very valuable manuscripts. And then there's another manuscript called the Alexandrinus. And that comes from Alexandria, Egypt. Now, Bill and his buddies, they really, really prefer those 2 in particular, with the little sprinkles on the top of the Alexandrinus. Now, he does admit in here that the Sinaiticus added 2 apocryphal books in the New Testament, one called the Epistle of Barnabas, and the other, the Shepherd of Hermas. There's the Greek god Hermes. So he really wanted to get a shepherd, a disciple, a cultist of Hermes in his manuscript. But he didn't follow his manuscript. So there on page 187 and 88, he reveals his preferences. On page 191, he says, one of the families include the majority text. And this is also called Byzantine. And it became known as the Textus Receptus, and it forms the basis of the King James Bible. And that's over 5,000 manuscripts that bear testimony to that. But no, the Alexandrian family, the Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, are the oldest. And we prefer those over the rest. Now on page 210 of this wonderful book, this storyline, None of the older Greek manuscripts, such as the Codex Sinaiticus, Alexandrinus, and Vaticanus, were available to the scholars translating the King James Version. Oh, so therefore they were inferior. On page 215, he again brags about these two select manuscripts, and then he again accent upon the science of textual criticism. What is that? The science of textual criticism is being critical of the text that you do have available, trying to ascertain which word is what the original would have. Therefore, it's a false science because none of them have the originals. On page 221, Bill analyzes a few of the translation. He says, the King James Version, the major drawback is its archaic vocabulary of the Elizabethan period, which contains many words and phrases which are obsolete and now different in meaning. Then he brags about the Revised Version, which is the newest, the first one that came off the shelf in 1880, endorsed by Westcott and Hort, promoting the Westcott and Hort Greek text, which is the Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus. He brags a little bit about the American Standard Version. Okay, and then he goes to, the New American Standard Bible. That is his favorite. Oh, he really liked its accuracy is excellent because it closely adheres to the original text. How does Bill know that when he didn't have any of the originals? I am uncertain of that. Oh, but you see, it says the accuracy of this translation is excellent and adheres most closely to the Greek. The Greek? 5,000? The Greek? He's implying one. He talks a little bit about the New King Jimmy, so what? The Living Bible, so what? And I thought there was something in here on the NIV. Oh, there it is right here. The NIV. The scholars involved took extraordinary care in their revisional efforts. And they made use of the best Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek text available. So this is the storyline of Bill where he lost his faith. Now, let me tell you a little bit that Bill didn't kind of let us know. You see, a person may not come right out and lie, which he did several times, but one of the secrets is to hide certain ideas. Are the Vaticanus and Sinaitic manuscripts the best two? That's what they all say in the Schofield Reference Bible. At the footnote of Mark 16, verse 9, he sort of kind of lets the cat out of the bag. And he names the two most ancient manuscripts. But they're the best. The Vaticanus is housed in lock and key in the Vatican Library. It omits Genesis 1 through Genesis 46. It takes out Psalm 106 through 138. It removes all of the pastoral epistles, 1st, 2nd Timothy, Titus. We understand why. It removes Hebrews 9:14 all the way to the end. If you read chapter 10, you understand why. It removes the entire book of Revelation, and it adds the Apocrypha within the text. The Sinaitic one that the garbage digger found in the trash pile in St. Catherine's Monastery near traditional Mount Sinai, it adds the Shepherd of Herms and the Epistle of Barnabas. But you know, these two great, marvelous manuscripts that are the basis of all the new Bibles disagree with each other over 3,000 times in the Gospels alone. How in the world are they the best? Now, if they're the best, men like Bill and the proponents of the new Bibles, if they're going to follow their manuscripts, are they not? None, zero, zilch, nada of the new Bibles follow their favorite manuscripts. None of them. None of them disperse the Apocrypha within the Old Testament. None of them add the Epistle of Barnabas. None of them add the Shepherd of Herms. You know, the Greek god known as a trickster. None of them remove Mark 16, 9 through 20. None of them remove John 7:53 through 8, verse 11. Now, they might put a little note and cast doubt on it, but they don't remove it. None of them remove the entire pastoral epistles. None of them remove Hebrews 9:14 to 13, the end of the chapter, 20, verse 20. None of them remove Revelation. None of them follow their best manuscripts. They remove just enough to satisfy their flesh in order to establish a satanic translation that we find in Luke chapter 4, verse 10 and 11. Now, shame on me. I have let the cat out of the bag. The popish persons have been found out, and the Greek fires have been exposed to be hypocrites.